Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Spellbinders. I am using the fresh picked vase bouquet, daisies, and angel trumpets, as well as I ended up going with the popular sentiments. It's the one on the left hand side there, but I did pull out 2 sentiment sets just to see what I wanted to use. So these are, well, they're on sale. That's why that's why I got them. I had wanted to try. They have a bunch of fresh picked types of flowers, and they have like buttercups and daffodils and berries, and they have all of them, and they're all, I think, 50% off, which they still are. Today is the last day for the sale. It's a massive spring warehouse sale. But so I got them the last time there was a sale, and I just hadn't had a chance to use them yet. But you guys, if you follow my channel, you know that I don't love die cutting. And part of that is the process, like the monotony of the die cutting. But part of it is also trying to figure out how everything goes together. And so this, as I'm sure you saw from the thumbnail, this particular video is kind of geared towards a little trick that I learned that helps me to understand and use my dies better. So here, I should have done this before I put the dies onto the cardstock, but I wasn't really sure that I was going to do it. And so basically this is going to make them stickers. So this is a double-sided adhesive. So you stick it onto the back of your cardstock. I like to use a bone folder and just kind of slide it along so that way there's no air bubbles. And then I just slide it along the release paper. And as I slide it, I use that bone folder to firmly adhere it to the paper. But I'm going to be honest with you. I used what I had in my stash, and I have had it for quite a while. So maybe that's why its performance was underwhelming. And I don't like to trash talk products. But I will tell you, Spellbinders does have a double-sided adhesive sheet like this, and I will be linking to that one instead. So this was the only one that I tried it on. And I did the first technique. This is the way that I would naturally gravitate toward doing it. And then we'll do it 2 other ways. So the way that I forgot she was in this. My little jelly bean. As you guys know, we've had a lot of things going on in my family with my mom. And so we've been keeping our little one out of daycare so that way she can see mom as much as possible. So this was a day where she and I were home together. And as you can see, she very quickly lost interest. She very quickly lost interest in doing any ink blending. So what I'm doing for this first technique, which is generally how I would do it when I was doing a monochromatic card, because I do like a little bit of dimension, is I die cut out all the pieces and then I add some shading to them with my distress inks. I should say, this is the way I did say that like twice, that this is the way I gravitate toward doing it naturally when it comes to ink blending. Not when because truly I would usually color it with alcohol markers, but this is faster and the results are still pretty. And the trick is, if you have not figured it out yet, is to make your card monochromatic. And it allows you to cut out all of the pieces out of the same cardstock. You could do white, by the way. You don't have to do a color. I chose to do a color. And these are all Spellbinders cardstocks as well. What is this one? Waterfall? I think this one's Waterfall. And so basically, I'm just going to go in and all of the little pieces parts, I am going to add a little bit of shading to with my distress inks. You can use whatever kind of inks or whatever kind of inks work best for you. I believe I did peacock feathers and... what is it? Is it Uncharted Mariner? We're going to find out here together in a minute because I can't remember. I did make these a little bit ago. But anywho, so doing the shading after you've already die cut the pieces gives you a lot more versatility in adding the shading and getting it accurate. However, it does present its own challenges with having to kind of chase the little bitty parts around your desk. This piece right here is the large leaves. This is the angel trumpets, and they have like a larger leaf section in the middle. So I did have some trouble with die cutting them with the adhesive on the back. Sometimes it always cut through the cardstock with no problem, but sometimes if it was a more intricate spot, it didn't necessarily cut all the way through the adhesive on the back. So I left that large cluster. What was it? I think it's Mermaid Lagoon. Now that I can actually see the top of the lid. So that way, like, the leaves aren't kind of like all wonky or whatever. I just left it attached and then peeled it off when I needed to put it down. But this particular type of adhesive is supposed to be repositionable for a little while, and then it will become permanent. So that may well be what the problem was, is the temporary wasn't sticky enough for me. So like I said, I don't like to talk about other people's products because maybe there's another way to use it that I don't know that works really, really well. But anyway, so I'm going through and I'm adding the shading to all of the die cuts as if I would have been shading it with my markers. So like I'm looking at the flowers, I'm looking at the leaves, I'm seeing where they would meet, and then I am putting them, like I'm adding the shading that way. For the centers of the flowers, I did just go darker, so that, you know, I know there's a piece that sits on top of it that will be lighter. So here, this is me going through, I've added the shading also to the background in a halo. So it's lighter in the middle and darker on the edges. Mm-hmm. And then I got this started, so that I could kind of lay it down. I just went to the website to see, where all the parts get positioned. I just went to the website and pulled up the example, and then I'm working off of that. It's just on my computer screen. So since these are, I will give it this, since these are repositionable, I guess it was both a blessing and a curse because it meant that I could move the stuff around quite a bit. But you can see as I'm trying to lay it down here, it is a little bit frustrating because it's not staying. And again, that might have something to do with the moisture from the ink blending that, you know, because I know there's a lot of low tack stuff that does have trouble sticking to that. So anyway, I just went through and I peeled off the backer paper and kind of laid them down, nestled into their area. And because we added the shading separately, so we added the shading to the background where it was lighter in the middle and darker on the edges, and then we added the shading to the florals and the leaves the way that we normally would, you know, where the petals are meeting and where the leaves are meeting is going to be darker. Because of that, it creates a contrast where the lighter parts of the florals sit on the darker part of the background, and the darker part of the die cut florals sit on the lighter part of the background, which truly this one I think is my favorite, just because it's nice and simple. We recently have kind of visited talking about some sympathy cards on a live that I did, and something like this where it's nice and monochromatic is going to be, especially in this like type of color, I think it actually looks more green on the screen than it really is. I'm trying to... Where did I leave these things? Does anybody know? I don't know where I put them. I probably put them away already. But anyway, I do think it looks a little bit more blue-ish in real life. But nonetheless, we're just taking the parts off and kind of building it up. The other ones will do two other, here, this is me speeding it speeding it up so you don't have to sit here for 100 years and watch me peel off the backers. But these are really well done. And they have, like I said, they have other ones. They also have these ones in a bundle. But they also have a ton of other things. They have like embossing folders down to like $2-3. They always have really good sales. Spellbinders does. And so that's typically when I go in there and do my purchasing, my purchasing of things, because I just wait for the next one. So this one does have like two kind of buds. One's much smaller. That's the one that's kind of down here on the bottom left. And then the top left also has one as well. And then the reason I did the centers darker is because it has this piece that sits on top of it that has like the little holes poked out, so you'd be able to see the darker color through those holes. But all in all, really happy with the way that this one came out. And because we're cutting them all in that like the monochromatic color and, building up this kind of textured background, it's not a waste, and it gives us an opportunity to play around with our pieces without overcomplicating the design. In order to get comfortable with my die cuts, I did just want to point out, like here, there's centers, for the flowers that you can put them in there. There's little dots for the stamen. I did not use those. Just being totally transparent. It just wasn't something that, with all of the, trouble that I had with the adhesive on the back, like I just wasn't willing to do it. But if you want to do it, they are included. So for the second one, this one I know for sure is Lilac Blossom. This is the daisies. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out of the Lilac Blossom and then also cut my card base. Now for these ones, I did not put any adhesive on the back of it. I just cut them out. I really do like the daisies. I think they're super pretty. Plus, I love that it gives you like these simple leaf clusters, because I do think you can do so much with them besides just using them the way that they are intended. And maybe I'll do a video about that. So here I get everything laid out so that the daisies are all fitted onto the A2 card. And for this one, I'm not going to do any ink blending before I glue it together. So I'm going to go through, everything is laid out. I'm going to, add all the centers to my flowers and the detail layer to those centers. I'm going to glue everything down flat. And then we are going to do the inking. So that is a little bit different than the way that we did it before. And then we're even going to add kind of like a further step into it. So anyway, what I was saying is, like, traditionally when I would get a die, I would have to cut it out of, like, I typically just did plain white cardstock, just so I could see what everything looked like, because they're hard for me to look at the pieces parts and see how they would go together. And not every company does like a guide for you to follow. So sometimes it was kind of challenging for me to figure out how things needed to be laid together. But by doing this technique, then there is no waste. I don't have like white pieces that I'm just throwing away. I cutting them out of the colored cardstock, and then I have a really nice monochromatic texture, heavy, texture rich kind of card that I can use with a nice bold sentiment. And then there was no waste of me cutting out all of the pieces parts just so I could figure out how they went. So I did use my My Sweet Petunia precision glue press. I have a what do they call those? The little it's not a detail. It's like the little teeny tiny nibs. So that does make this easier to just use the liquid glue. But if you don't have that, then it can be a little bit much. So I would recommend just using a a glue where, you know, it has like a more detailed nib. And some of them you can even get like these, the little needle ones, the fine tips, and you can adhere it. So now everything's glued down. I set the heavy misties on top of it and, you know, let it dry. And then for this one, I'm going to add the shading in that same halo, lighter in the center, darker on the edges, but I'm going to do it after I've glued everything down. This does give us a different look. Here you can clearly see that I have sped things up quite a bit. Because I don't know, is watching ink blending boring? I don't know. I feel like I don't want to watch myself do it. So why would you guys want to? But so anyway, we're doing the darker on the edges. For this one, I used Wilted Violet, Dusty Concord, and Villainous Potion as my darkest color. And you could really even bump these up further by taking this all the way out to black. And you would get a ton of contrast, which I think would be really, really pretty. But nonetheless, I was okay with this because we're going to be doing that kind of second step. So you can see we still have the lighter center. The edges are nice and dark. And then for this technique, I just wanted to show you the difference. So before we even do anything else with just the ink blending, you can clearly see there's a difference between the two. You can do this with a darker color, and kind of brayer over the top, a darker ink. But I am going to use this one. This is from Hero Arts. It is their Glitz ink. And I'm going to pick it up with a brayer. This particular one is a dark purple, so you can see that it's definitely darker than the rest of the background, and it helps it pop. But this one also, because it is a glitz, it actually has a metallic in it. This particular purple one has a gold. There you can kind of see it in the light when it dries. It has just a little bit of a gold metallic, which I think is super fun way to kind of bump up your monochromatic cards. This one is the last one, and this is the one that we'll be doing the vase bouquet. Truly, the whole reason that I bought this one is because I wanted that vase. Because remember when I said we could go back and we could use the flowers differently than how they intended them because we have the die cuts. So I wanted that vase to be able to put all kinds of different flowers in. So here with this one, I am doing the ink blending on both pieces first before I die cut it all. And I'm doing a darker center and then a lighter edge. And this is, I think it's Peridot. I think that's what it is. Which is also my birthstone, so fitting. Here, I didn't want to have to ink blend a bigger piece than what I needed, so I'm just kind of laying this out on the sheet that it comes on and just kind of marking it. Now, I did not take into account that some of the dies are tucked into each other, and I was able to make it work, but that's just something, like, don't be like me. Don't be like me. You might need to take them out, or pop them off of their backer sheet and kind of lay them out to know how big of a sheet you need. But then for here, I'm doing the same thing that we did before, darker edges, lighter center. So we have that little bit of contrast where the background is dark center, light edges. And then the piece that we're going to be cutting our die cuts out of is light center, dark edges. And these are just some kind of really easy ways that we can create interest. So, and as you can see, it's sped up to like 1 million per, I think it's actually 400. So yeah, today's a beautiful day. Today is like 80 degrees in Ohio, which is really kind of crazy for April, but I will take it. It's also that weird time. We can't be the only ones. It's like that weird time in between when your heat, you don't want to have your heat on during the day because it's so nice, But then at night, it still gets down into like the 40s. So you kind of want your heat on then, but then you don't want to turn your air conditioning on because it's hot during the day, but then it's cold at night. It's like such a weird in-between stage when you're in spring and fall. So far I just have the fans on. Like the heat is off and the fans are on. We have not turned on the air conditioning yet, because Ohio it's trickery. It wants to trick you into thinking that it's gonna be nice and it's gonna stay nice, but it's a false spring. It's a lie. So yeah, but I am grateful. Today is beautiful. I live very close to my parents, so I walked over there earlier today when the nurse was there. Walked over and saw Mom and hung out with her for a little bit and then was able to walk back. Okay, so here everything is laid out. We're going to tape these in place. It did take some... let's just say I'm glad that I played a lot of Tetris with Graham when I was a kid, because I was definitely had to keep moving and changing and moving to get them all to fit on the sheet that I had. So now we're going to go ahead and lay this out. Again, I just have that brought up on my screen so I can kind of follow along with it. But because we have the darker center and the lighter edge, you can still see that contrast. So then once everything's down, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing it. Of course, you could add interest with these by like popping them up. But I glued all of mine flat. And I think that was still okay. And then we're going to go through, we're going to glue them. I think I spared you the gluing because we've seen it so many times now. Yeah, this is just me finishing up putting on the centers. So that's all glued down. Now, here's all three of them. The one on the left has that shimmer ink on it, which they do have multiple colors. So for this one, I am going to use a white pigment ink. Now, because we are using distress inks and they do reactivate with water, this might work with other dye inks too. I don't know. You'd have to try with the ones you have. But because of that, I am, rolling on white pigment ink and it's helping them to pop off the page. But as it dries, it doesn't really stay a true white. It kind of just becomes a lighter green. It's almost like because you reactivate that distress ink, it turns it like a pale-ish color of whatever color you put it on top of. So for my sentiments, I cut the words out of white and I cut the shadow out of vellum. So we're going to have one that says just a note. We're going to have one that says happy birthday, and we're going to have one that says best wishes. But this is just a nice, easy little trick to kind of get to know your die cuts, especially if it's the first time that you're using them, or if it's a more involved one and you haven't used it in a while. I just know for me that like overly complicated dies can kind of be a deterrent for me because I do get easily frustrated with chasing the pieces parts. So this is something that has been helpful to me in order to be able to use those products that I see other people use, because these are very who else has these out? Like I think Concord 9th had one that was like a bunch of flowers that kind of like fill up the whole background. Honeybee has a couple like that. They're called the bold backgrounds. I really like them because like when I'm in a creative spot like I am now where I don't really want to have to think about it, these types of cards are pretty and they're easy, and there's a couple of really easy variations to it to give you a different look. And obviously you can always use them again and do the different colors, and they would be even more stunning. So see how I just knocked that one off? Yeah, I ended up going back with the liquid glue. It's because that's the only one we used that particular adhesive on, and it's repositionable. I don't know how long till it stays permanent. So anyway, I added some shimmer. I added some rhinestones. That's from the crystal mix from Spellbinders. And then I did add some white highlights with my gel pen. And then I think that's it. I think that's the last little thing that I did to the card. And this is all 3 of them. I'm really happy with the way that they came out. I hope it kind of inspires you to maybe get out a die that has been a little overwhelming for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please check out that spring warehouse sale. It's a good one, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.